If you're constantly changing your mind about goals, plans, career, life direction, I get you. I changed college majors twice. I taught English abroad as a way to avoid making those big decisions. I started and quit a bunch of side hustles and online businesses. I probably went back and forth about as many times as you could. And you can probably relate that it is draining. It drains your confidence, it drains your energy, and worst of all, it does affect your identity. Thankfully, we're not crazy, we're not broken, we're just kind of stuck in a loop. And in this video, I wanted to address that and teach you how to break that. If you're constantly flipping between decisions, you're probably doing a lot of researching, planning, organizing, getting the most information to make the best choice. It's understandable. Who wouldn't want to try to do that? But most of the time, the researching, the planning, the optimizing, it's a cover-up. And this is the truth, that a lot of this over-analysis is actually just avoiding the uncertainty of a big decision. And it's understandable. Committing to something, making a big decision, even if it's good, is scary. And it's really fascinating. Our brains would prefer certainty, even if it's something that makes you miserable, over uncertainty. We would prefer the devil that we know versus the thing that we don't know. And this can show up in a number of different ways. Your brain might keep chasing new ideas. You might try to find the faults in a particular idea or option of yours. You might think, oh, I should tweak or change something, change directions, start fresh. And all of this going in a loop, it is really just a cover up for your fears. And there's a few reasons as to why we do this. In particular, coming up with ideas is pretty easy. Committing is not very easy. It feels like progress to think of new ideas. You maybe have a note page on your phone, on your computer, a notebook, a whiteboard even, where you come up with all your ideas or you think about all your options. It feels like progress. It really does. It feels kind of hopeful, inspiring, like it's the fresh optimism of something new. But what happens is when things start to get tough, there's a little resistance, we revert back to step one, or we overanalyze everything to avoid that discomfort completely. If you have enough options and you think about them night and day, that causes your paralysis. The ideas are easy. The commitment to one is tough. Another reason why we constantly change our minds, the discomfort that comes with something new, it might be confused for misalignment. The growth you get from something new, a new career path, a new side hustle, new business, new project, new plan, the growth feels uncomfortable. That doesn't mean it's wrong though. And I felt this a number of times too when I was trying to set up online businesses, when I was teaching abroad in Thailand. It felt like I wasn't really aligned to what I wanted. I didn't even know what I wanted for sure. But I kept on reverting back to step one because I was feeling that misalignment. It was really just the growing pains. And no matter what you end up doing in life, you're going to feel those growing pains. Mistaking that for misalignment and being on the wrong path is a big hiccup. Probably the most insidious reason we constantly change our minds is we don't fully trust ourselves. And that is by far the most harmful. If you don't trust yourself to make decisions, everything's going to feel pretty shaky. You second guess yourself and constantly think that the decision you make is going to be wrong. When you don't trust yourself to handle that adversity, you're going to keep going back to where it's safe. Maybe it's the idea stage or just your comfort zone. If you don't trust yourself, you're not really going to make that decision and commit long enough to see things through. And it's the most insidious one because when you don't trust yourself, you're reinforcing your nervous system to stay in that loop of doubt. When you don't trust yourself, you're kind of sending the message that you're not someone you can trust, that your decisions are probably wrong. And that keeps you stuck in that loop and never breaking out of the comfort zone. And I've been there before plenty of times. I stayed in the comfort zone for a long time. And when I would try to break out of that into a different online business mold or teaching in a new place, I didn't believe in myself enough to stick it through. And because of that, I really didn't get to see anything long term. And it really caused me to regret that, well, not regret that period of time, but in particular, regretting not seeing it through to see where it could have gone. And, we all lose opportunities in that particular way. But the good thing is that we're not broken. And we don't need to completely reinvent ourselves and change everything. Not at all. But what we do need to do is work on breaking this habit. One of the key detractors is reverting back to step one, is not seeing something through to a natural conclusion. So we need to build the new habit, and it goes in 3 steps. It is decide, commit, ride the wave. Now, it seems easier said than done. And I know, I've been there plenty. That's why we need to start this small. Start at small scale and just try different habits. It could be, what's an example? It could be something you do in the morning. Like maybe you do 5 push-ups before you shower. Or you wait to have your coffee, not right away. Maybe it's like a 10-minute walk around the block before you get into your morning routine. We start small to show that we can make decisions and ride them through to a natural conclusion or something that we fully adopt into our lives. By going through this framework, we proved to ourselves that we can make changes. We can make decisions. We can find out that most decisions are, in fact, reversible, or that we actually have a lot more control than we realize. When you ride the wave, you start to prove yourself that you can handle it. And that's what we're trying to reinforce. Reinforce handling making these decisions instead of changing our minds at the first sign of discomfort. I've been working on this recently too. I'm trying to build a habit of running in the mornings. And as a former teacher, I'm pretty good at waking up in the morning, but running is it's a bit of an albatross for me. I've never really enjoyed it, and I'm much more comfortable with lifting or actually doing kickboxing. But I've been trying to at least show that I could do this, or at least give it a good try, give it a good run, to a reasonable concluding point. And hey, hold me accountable to that. Ask me how my run was this morning. Still working on breaking, a full mile without pausing, but, baby steps. So we have our 3-step framework to decide, commit, ride the wave. Let's add some structure to that to make it easier for you to make these new decisions. The first thing I would suggest is create a decision window for yourself. So whether it is a big or small decision, set a time frame to actually make the decision. Maybe it's a small thing like starting a new morning habit. Take a couple minutes, 10 minutes tops, to make the decision and to execute and just ride that wave. For something bigger, like a bigger project, a potential career shift, something you can explore, set yourself another time frame that's like 24, 72 hours long. And once that's done, you make the decision, no more tinkering, you decide, commit, and ride the wave. For things like a career change, that's obviously a pretty big change. But you could start to decide to take the next steps before you actually take that plunge. Another piece of structure to this is remembering a deeper why behind it. This is going to help a lot in attaching purpose to a decision. Thinking about the reason why gives you that extra push. It gives you that extra motivation and determination to see it through. So let's say it's a 10-minute walk around the block. Instead of saying, I want to start taking a walk in the mornings, you could think a little bit deeper on it and think, I want to set habits to make me healthier, or I want to stay active throughout the day. And that could be a piece of your purpose. Or something like this. Instead of, I want to start a YouTube channel, you could think, I want to help people escape indecision and take action. Adding that deeper purpose adds a really good anchor to the decision. It's not arbitrary, you have an actual proper reason behind it. And lastly, you could practice some decision recovery. Majority of the time, decisions are reversible. Just because you're committing to something does not mean it is your life for good. If a decision ends up messy, hey, it happens. Nobody here is perfect. But if something messy does happen, if something doesn't go the way you wanted it to, we can bounce back. We can find ways to pivot and adjust. Thinking about the habit of morning running, there was one morning where I went for a run, then in the afternoon I went to kickboxing. The next day I was exhausted and I had to skip the run the next day. Didn't quite go according to how I wanted it to, but I was able to pivot, kind of set a new rule behind it, think, okay, no running and kickboxing on the same day. What about a rainy morning? Had one of those last week. What's the new parameter? Well, if it rains, we could do some kind of home workout indoors, at least just to get the heart rate going. We don't have to abandon our decisions. We can learn to adjust and pivot and continue to move forward. Hopefully these tips have been useful to stop constantly changing your mind. As long as you work on deciding, committing, and riding the wave, along with those parameters, you'll start to train yourself to break out of that cycle. You'll start to train yourself to trust your decisions more, and by the time you get to bigger decisions, you'll be ready. Hopefully this video resonated with you, and if you made it to this point, thank you so much. I appreciate you getting to the very end. And if this is resonating with you, then follow along on this journey, and I appreciate you. Thanks.